investigation into yesterday's horrific events in Brooklyn. Tragically, one of the 9 victims, a 44-year-old male, was struck while operating his moped at Bay Ridge Parkway and 5th Avenue. He has succumbed to his injuries. The condolences of the entire New York City Police Department are with that family today, as well as with the other individuals who were injured, including one police officer. People sustained various injuries during this incident, and we will continue to monitor them as we move forward. This episode highlights again the importance of the women and men of the NYPD to be ready at a moment's notice for absolutely anything. And yesterday they were. From the first 911 call, the NYPD responded with a full complement of resources. Patrol units, assisted greatly by the NYPD's elite aviation, emergency service, and highway units, our bomb squad, and a detective bureau that is second to none. NYPD investigators are working with our law enforcement partners, including prosecutors, to build the strongest case possible and to deliver a measure of justice to these victims. So far, we've developed, through numerous 911 calls, witness statements, video footage, and more, a timeline that spans more than an hour. The chronology begins at Sunset Park and followed the suspect's path of destruction through Bay Ridge, into Dyker Heights, back into Bay Ridge, and eventually ending just outside the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel. At approximately 10:20 a.m., a 34-year-old victim on a bicycle at 55th Street and 4th Avenue was struck by the U-Haul, which then fled the scene. About 7 minutes later, a 33-year-old victim on a bicycle was struck at Senator Street and 5th Avenue. Approximately 4 minutes after that, at 10:31 a.m., a 30-year-old victim was knocked off his bicycle at Bay Ridge Parkway and 7th Avenue. At 10:36, a 51-year-old victim on a moped was hit at Bay Ridge Parkway and 12th Avenue. Then at approximately 10:50, a 38-year-old victim on an e-bike was struck and injured, at about the same time as the 44-year-old victim on the moped, who later succumbed to his injuries. We continue. At 10:57 a.m., a 32-year-old victim on a moped was hit by the U-Haul at 72nd Street and 3rd Avenue, followed by an NYPD officer from the 6-8 precinct who was injured at approximately 11:03 a.m. when the U-Haul rammed his patrol car near the intersection of Wakeman Place and Ridge Boulevard. At 11:05, the truck hit a 66-year-old victim walking near 73rd Street and 3rd Avenue. At approximately 11:09 a.m., an NYPD aviation unit helicopter spotted the U-Haul at 86th Street and 4th Avenue in Bay Ridge. All of our responding units converged on that area at that time. At 11:16 a.m., aviation acquired the truck at the Belt Parkway and Shore Road. At 11:19, aviation officers observed it passing the 43rd Street and Brooklyn Queens Expressway area heading toward Manhattan. At 11:24 a.m., members of the NYPD's emergency service and highway units stopped and boxed in that truck outside at the Hamilton Avenue and Columbia Street area. The 66-year-old male driver was then quickly taken into custody without further incident. I want to commend and thank all of the officers and detectives involved in tracking this vehicle, making the apprehension and the subsequent investigation. And thank you to our fellow New Yorkers. Every member of the community, every person who called 911, everyone who flagged down the police, you are consistently there to assist us. You truly share in the public safety of this city, and we cannot be more grateful. I'm going to turn it over now to Chief Essig, who will provide you with more details about the suspect and the charges that were filed. Chief?
Thank you, Commissioner. I'd like to update you on the events that occurred yesterday in the Bay Ridge Sunset Park section of Brooklyn. The first incident occurred at 10:20 a.m. at 55th Street and 4th Avenue. It encompassed 8 incidents and ends with the subject being stopped at Hamilton Street and Columbia Street at 11:24 a.m. During this rampage, 8 civilians, 3 on a bike, 3 on a moped, 1 on an e-bike, and 1 walking, were injured. 1 tragically suffered a fatal injury. One is in critical but stable condition. The remaining 6 injuries ranged from broken bones to cuts and bruises. One police officer suffered injury to his leg. Arrested and being charged is Weng Saw, a male Asian, 62 years old, of 6725 Bison Creek Street in Las Vegas, Nevada. His criminal record includes 8 prior arrests dating back to 2002 in June for DWI, in November of 2002 for evading a police officer, in August of 5 for battery, in 14 for resisting arrest, in October of 2015 for domestic battery, in May of 2017 for battery with a deadly weapon, and November of 2020 for battery with a deadly weapon. All those arrests were in Las Vegas, and his latest arrest was February 5th of this year for reckless driving and possession of marijuana in South Carolina. He is being charged with 1 count of murder in the 2nd degree and 7 counts of attempted murder. The investigation is still ongoing, but this is what I can tell you at this time. Mr. Saw resides with his mother in Las Vegas. He is estranged from his son and wife who reside in Brooklyn. He travels to West Palm Beach, Florida on February 1st. He rents a U-Haul truck. The vehicle is due back March 3rd of 2023. On February 4th, we know he is still in West Palm Beach, Florida, based on ATM withdrawals. On February 5th, while traveling through South Carolina en route to New York, he is stopped for reckless driving and marijuana possession by South Carolina Highway Patrol. The tow invoice for that U-Haul is discovered in the truck after his arrest in New York. He makes his way to New York City, and on February 6th, shows up at his ex-wife and son's residence to shower. He returns to that same residence on February 8th to shower and has an altercation with his son. On that same day, February 8th, he is stopped by the New York City Highway Patrol on the Bell Parkway. He is given 2 summonses, one for speeding and one for having a commercial vehicle on the Bell Parkway. The next time we see that vehicle is in New Jersey, Melbourne, New Jersey, on Sunday, February 12th at 8:10 p.m., before he returns to Brooklyn yesterday. Based on interviews with his family members and confirmed when interrogated by members of the New York City Detective Bureau, we believe Mr. Sir was suffering from a mental health crisis. At this time, there is no nexus to terrorism. Just like to update real quick on some other cases of note that we've had. This one was a shooting in transit that occurred on Saturday, January 28th at 1:05 a.m. on the N train at Canal Street Station House. The male was shot multiple times. Detectives were able in this one to quickly and early on identify the perpetrator of this crime. We're asking for the public's help in in finding his whereabouts. This man is Marcos Cofrisi. He's a male 30 years old of 309 Elditch Street in Brooklyn, New York. He has 2 prior arrests for criminal possession of marijuana and for fare evasion. We're asking for anyone who has any information on his whereabouts to call Crime Stoppers at 1-800-577-TIPS. Also just want to update you on the 4 people shot, resulting in 2 fatalities in the Tremont section of the Bronx, specifically 631 East Tremont Avenue. That happens on Friday, February 10th at 2:30 p.m. outside the Popeyes restaurant. 2 brothers, Jeremiah and Devon Smith, were fatally shot and 2 others were wounded after an argument with 2 shooters. The argument stems from a fight between the victims and the shooter's girlfriend. Arrested was Salvador Rivera, a male 51 years old. He resides at 620 East 178th Street in the Bronx. He has 5 priors: criminal possession of a weapon, criminal sale of narcotics, a murder from 1988 in which he served 2 years for stabbing somebody in the chest, a robbery and a resisting arrest. Also arrested was Jose Peralta, a male 32 of 70 Amsterdam Avenue in Manhattan. He has 5 prior arrests for assault, criminal possession of controlled substance, an attempted murder, also criminal possession of a weapon, a firearm. Also like to update you on an incident that happened on Coney Island on Friday, February 10th also, at 3222 Mermaid Avenue at 4:55 p.m. This is where 4 persons were shot. Our victims range in the age between 17 and 26 years old, and we have identified the intended target here as the 17-year-old victim. Investigation this time is early and ongoing, but it reveals this may be in retaliation for a robbery at a dice game, which occurred prior. Again, anybody with any information, call us at Crime Stoppers, 1-800-577-TIPS. The last update is occurs on the President Street Station House, which was the subway unprovoked push onto the tracks. It occurs on Saturday, February 12th at 3 p.m. A 66-year-old male was pushed onto the tracks and sustained substantial pain to his body, his wrists, and his knees. Prior to being pushed, our victim states our perp came up to him and said, "I'm going to kill you." He begins to run away. He's chased by the perpetrator and pushed onto the tracks. Detectives from the transit squad were able to quickly identify this person, and Transit Bureau personnel arrested him earlier today at 14th Street and 6th Avenue. Arrested is Corey Walcott. He's a male, 44 years old. He's homeless. He has 19 prior arrests, including multiples for forcible touching, criminal possession of a controlled substance, assault, criminal sale of marijuana, fare evasion, and criminal possessions of a weapon. With that, I'd like to take any questions on any of these cases.
Tina Moore, New York Post.
Chief, I know you said that Mr. Shore has mental health issues. Do you have any other reasons
When he states when he's driving his van, he sees an invisible object come towards the car, and at that point he says, "I've had enough," and he goes on his rampage. There was no object. He says an invisible object came towards my car, and I've had enough. That was his quote.
Henry Russo, 11.
I'm just wondering if he, to your knowledge, is he being already treated for mental health disorder? Was he off medication? Can you say any more about that mental health history?
I'm not going to comment on his mental health history. We have a lot of information from his family who confirmed that he was off his medication.
Lisa Evans, Fox 5.
Chief, in terms of the connection to Brooklyn, to those particular neighborhoods, what was his connection to those particular areas?
You know, his family lives in the vicinity there. That's what the connection we can see right now.
All right, Rocco.
Chief, is this possibly suicide by cop? And for the priors that you laid out, are they all Vegas except for the Belt Parkway incident?
They're all Vegas. The priors are all Vegas except for the South Carolina incident en route on the 5th. And what was the second part of the question?
Is this possibly suicide by cop?
He does say to the police when he was arrested, "You should have shot me."
Roger Stern, 1010.
That answered my question.
Okay. Anybody else? John Doyle.
Chief, just a question. I guess there was some type of, the commissioner said that cops converged on an area. There was some type of pursuit at one time, and I guess they lost them somehow. Do they know, as far as tactics go, how they pursued him, and was that within guidelines of the pursuit?
You got that, boss.
So there are a number of different scenes and videos we have to evaluate, so the response to this scene will be part of that investigation as well.
All right. Emily, New York 1.
May I have a review of the charges, please? There are 9 casualties, but just 8.
Yeah, we have 8. We're still working through the rest, specifically the charges on the MOS.
1 murder,
1 murder,
2.
2, 7 attempted murders.
On that subway incident, you said Saturday, February 12th. Saturday was the 11th. Was it on Sunday or Saturday?
It was Saturday. I'm sorry.
All right, last question, Rocco.
Chief, based on what you've seen of the body-worn camera video, is there any point where it looks like maybe he's going to surrender, that they've calmed him down enough, or have succeeded in getting him to at least consider surrendering?
He's taken on the vehicle.
Yeah, he was taken. We boxed him in.
Well, I point, was it not early on where they may have walked up to the vehicle, is that correct? Or is that early information changed?
At some point.
No, okay.
So at some point, I think you're referring to the part at some point when the officer was injured, they tried to stop the vehicle. We have no indication that he was going to surrender.